G'day. One of the things I'd like to talk about today is the reason people come and live in overseas. You might choose Thailand, you might choose Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia. And I'm going to be doing interviews over the coming months with people from all these areas and what they found actually was going on. So a part of this now is looking at why people move here. I often, as an economist, I use a couple of magic numbers. All right, and I've done a lot of work on this, and one of the things that we find is people often come here because they just can't afford to live in Australia. All right, there's a couple of magic numbers I use. 45 often costs people $45,000 a year to live in Australia. You can do it as a couple. Really difficult if you're a single person. Otherwise, you've just got to start living with people. I had a great talk to a guy I'm going to interview today, Ray. Ray lived out of his car, and he'll talk about that today. But why is he here? And the first reason he's here is cash. 25,000. So 45 in Australia, 25 here. On $500 a week, he can afford to live here because that's $34 million a month. All right, and that you can live here on that because you can get your rent for about $7. You can't get your rent for $7 in Australia. It's more likely to be 28. All right, so 28 million a month. So if you're looking to come here, you then look at why you come here. So the first reason people usually look at is money. And this is where I've got a petition on this page about portability of pension funds. Now, to an extent, pension funds are portable. Certainly, disability pensions are not. So if people have a disability problem, wouldn't it be nice if they could go somewhere that they could afford to live? You know, I've talked to people on disability pensions here. They can come away for 28 days, not a month. All right, so they often get hit for that extra few days, and it's taken off their pension if they stay longer than the 28 days. So when they go back, their pension is cut. Right now we've got this issue in Australia where we've got an ageing population. There's a couple of ways to deal with an ageing population. The other one way is to actually let them go overseas and live. We then look at a place like Vietnam, and I'll concentrate on Da Nang right now. So for 25,000, you can live a very, very good life in Da Nang. All right, you can actually live very well. You can rent a place to live that's a nice place to live. You can go out and eat every day. I did the $1.50 breakfast yesterday, a couple of days ago, and it's really important to understand that you can go out and get food at that price. You know, we've got Aussie Bistro. People come here once a week just to hear an Australian voice and get a pie and chips or a burger or a roast. All right, and that's why they come here. And I'm happy that people come here once a week. They don't need to come here and drink every day. In fact, we often work with people who are drinking too much to say, you know, there's got to be more to living here than just drinking every day. So we have a look at the fitness side of life, and there's a lot of great people go out and they do the walking because it's a beautiful place and the beach is beautiful and the esplanade is just magnificent for people to go off and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful city. There's also the river, which is gorgeous. You can go for walks around the river and walks all around town. There's a wonderful YouTuber called Social Sammy that just captures this city like no one else can. And plus, he and Marcus are awesome people, so that's one reason to go and have a look at their own YouTube channel. And I try and point everybody towards Social Sammy and Marcus. So it's SAMY, Social Sammy, and really worth having a look at because he's an awesome human. But if you're going to come here, you've got to find out the purpose you want to do it. And I remember we did a lot of strategic development as a part of our programs in DPI Queensland back in the 80s and 90s, and one of them was around change. So if you're going to change, there are 4 things you need in place. Right? You need a vision for what you want to do. People usually come here, they'll come here first for a holiday and go, geez, this is a nice place. Then they come back for a month, and they come back for 3 months, and then they come back for 6 months, and then they might choose to come back here and live. So that's usually the best way to understand what your future vision needs to look like. And when you get here, it's then finding out what you want to do. Some people will want to start a business. Take a cold shower. One of the next videos I'm going to do is actually how do you start a business in Vietnam, and as I'm a member of the Australian Chamber of Commerce here in Vietnam, I like to point people in the right direction on what to do about starting a business. Geez, I know I've made a few bloody mistakes, that's for sure. And you learn by those. I can give you the drum. And I'll talk about what's happened in the next video. So then you have a look at after the vision, you've got to have discontent. Are you unhappy with living in Australia, or are you unhappy with what you need to do? And there's all sorts of prerequisites you need to understand about a pension. So usually you need to have your age pension in place before you come here. You need to do a lot of homework with the Australian government and with everything else to make sure that you can come here and still receive your pension. And have a look at my 41-page checklist that's on a post here, and that's part of that, making sure all of that pre-work is done. You might need to stay for a period of time, usually 6 months before you come. So in your deliberations on whether you come, you start to plan what you do really well. But you've got to have that discontent with what the hell's happening in Australia. I know I had a gut full of a whole lot of things, so I moved here for a reason. I certainly didn't move here for financial reasons. One of the worst things and hardest things you can do is start a business here, because it's very complicated. And you think Australian business is complicated, wait until you do one here. So first step, are you going to retire? The next thing is your plan. So the 41 point checklist is all about that need to really plan what the hell you're going to do. And you follow that checklist from A to Z, all right? And make sure you do it from your own perspective, which is really important. And the last thing is capacity. One of the things that's going to be solidifying here, and I'll talk about it soon, is the visa system. And we've got a wonderful conference coming up in November around at Fusion Resort with my mate Mario. And we're going to have a look at this destination as a medical tourism, from a medical tourism perspective. And that's really important for Australians to know, because a big part of planning and a big part of the capacity to come here is that you're physically able to do it. The other one is loved ones, and this is something I'm going to be looking at myself over the coming months, is from a medical tourism perspective around dementia. I'm going to be doing a lot of work in this area, and I'm going to be contacting a lot of people in relation to this, because it's a really difficult topic to understand, particularly for those carers and those family people who want to look after their loved ones. So there's a few things there about coming here. You've got to have your vision, you've got to have your discontent, you've got to have your plan, you've got to have your capacity. Because of the cost of living here, capacity becomes easier than Australia. So when we're talking about 25 versus 45, excuse me, got a little bit of a cold at the moment, 25 versus 45, you've got to start to consider as a single person, male or female, and I'll give you the drum. I see a lot of males in this town. I don't see a lot of females, and I really question the opportunity for Australian retired ladies to come here. This is an incredibly safe place. You know, in some ways it's safer than Australia. I see women able to walk around here at night in absolute security that the world is okay. We walk around here, I see young people, I see everybody walking around here, I see people walking around here who have been drinking for such a long time, it's stupid. And they're still safe, people still look after them. And that is the nature of this Buddhist culture and how they work with people. So if you're going to come here, 4 things: vision, discontent, a plan, and capacity. Once you get all those in order, come and settle here, campers. We'll catch you later, eh? Thanks for listening.